I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Lorinda. I don't think I've had the opportunity to meet you all yet, but I look forward to connecting more after this phone call. But I'm the manager for TEXO Foundation, and we're a nonprofit that's dedicated to bringing up the next generation of construction industry professionals. And the foundation has outreach committees, and those are comprised of volunteers from the industry. And there are 3 committees. We have a high school committee, college, and a diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI committee. The committee members work with these audiences to support training efforts and promote career opportunities. We want to get people involved in the industry and get them careers in the industry. This afternoon's training has been coordinated by members of the high school committee. So we've got volunteers from the industry, the pros that are taking time out of their day to help organize and put this together for the educators and just for those who have interest. And joining us on the call today is chair of the event, Brent Geis with Turner Construction. We also have Stephanie Long with J.E. Dunn. Literally today, we had a transition of our leadership of this committee. So Stephanie is our outgoing chair, and incoming is Nicole Arapis with Campos Engineering. And then one of our general members, Gerald Nichols, will be joining us later in the call. So, but just very thankful to have these folks that are, like I said, giving of their time to help put these things together. They really have a passion to see this industry grow and see this next generation of young people get into the industry. So some of you might be familiar with the name TEXO. So the foundation is the 501c3 of TEXO Association. That's a lot of times I think what people know is that TEXO Association. So the foundation is the 501c3, and the association has a membership of over 350 commercial construction companies and industry trade partners in North and East Texas. And the foundation's goal is bringing educational institutions and the industry together. So we also want to make sure that those who are training students, the educators, have the resources they need to create solid programs. And we know that many of you have a critical need for funding, and our hope is that you will learn today what options are out there for you and how you can go about applying for those resources. So a few things before we get started. At the end of the presentation, we will have a brief Q&A followed by breakout rooms. And each breakout room will have a designated representative to facilitate the conversation. Then we will come back together for a final Q&A. So 2 Q&As. As you are aware, to receive CPE credit, you do need to attend the entire event. So after the breakout rooms, we will send out a link to complete a short survey. In that survey, you can indicate whether or not you would like to receive CPE. And that certificate will be sent next week via email, via the email that you provide in that survey. So before we get started with our guest speakers, we would just like to do a kind of a quick poll. You can either voice your response or you can type it in the chat box. But what are you wondering about today's session? Like, what are those questions you already have about today's session? And like I said, you can turn on your microphone if you just want to speak it, or you can type it into the chat box. All right. Well, oh, to know about funding. All right. If you're joining in, we're just talking about just asking the question of what you're wondering about today's session. If you have anything ahead of time that you're already a question you're already wondering about what's going to be covered and whatnot. So what resources are available across the state to strengthen our construction workforce? Which programs offer funding that we should seek out? Okay, well, continue to put those in the chat box if you have them. But we will go ahead and get started. So now I would like to introduce our guest speakers. First, I would like to introduce Danielle Davis. Danielle is an Education Partnerships Coordinator with Workforce Solutions of North Central Texas. Their mission is to advance business-driven solutions that promote economic growth, opportunity, and a skilled workforce. Danielle's work is focused on supporting school districts and education leaders and empower their students by aligning programs and initiatives to current workforce trends. Danielle regularly promotes career exploration activities and connects education communities to resources, opportunities, and solutions to help create a strong and resilient future workforce. And also, I would like to introduce Michael Pflug. He is the CTE Grants Consultant for Region 10 Education Service Center. Michael received his bachelor's degree and master's degree in education from the University of Texas in Arlington. Michael has been in education for 11 years and has served urban and suburban school districts of varying size. He was the K-12 STEAM curriculum coordinator for Prosper ISD, which is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and has taught all levels of middle school science and engineering. He has been with Region 10 ESC for over 1 year as the CTE grants consultant, and he manages the Texas Regional Pathways Network grants totaling over $1 million in active grants. As CTE grants consultant, Michael assists local education agencies in applying for grants from the Texas Education Agency, the Texas Workforce Commission, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board. Michael has presented at the National Science Teachers Association Conference on Science Education, the Science Teachers Association of Texas, and has been a guest speaker at the University of Texas in Arlington, their middle level education program. Most recently, Michael co-presented with renowned author and speaker Jay McTeague on educating for authentic performance on the Education Week webinar series. So without further ado, I would like to hand it off to Michael.
Thank you so much. That was a lot.
Well, and the great thing about it is that the two folks that are presenting today, they can speak to across the state. So very thankful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as she said, I'm with Region 10 Education Service Center. We are the Dallas side of the Metroplex. So Region 10 is the Dallas side. Region 11 is the Fort Worth side. We serve everything from the Red River all the way down, I say basically almost to Hillsboro down there. So we serve 880,000 students, 112 school staff, and 58,000 of those that we serve are teachers. We work with and serve 130 ISDs, charters, and private schools across 10 counties in North Texas. I'm not going to read them, but the missions, the beliefs of Region 10 are listed there. But the primary goal is we are here to make sure that students are successful, that local education agencies have what they need and are successful, and that we are moving those kids forward and providing opportunities for them so that they can go on to be whatever they want to be and do whatever they want to do. So next up.
All right, I think I'm up. Well, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to TEXO for putting on this event. Like Lorinda said, my name is Danielle Davis. I'm with Workforce Solutions for North Central Texas. And you can see on our map, we cover 14 counties that surround Tarrant and Dallas County. So some of you may be within Dallas County. You have your own workforce board, Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas, and Tarrant County has their own workforce board as well. And then our workforce board is that big blue area that you see surrounding them. So as Lorinda said, both Michael and I will be speaking about things that are available to the whole state, and many of the things we'll mention, it doesn't matter where you are, the rules remain the same. But if you do need a connection to your Tarrant or Dallas board or any other board area, just let me know. I'd be happy to make that connection for you. I won't reiterate too much of what was stated in the intro, but Workforce Solutions has a myriad of resources available all the way from early childhood to adulthood. We just want to see our local economy boom and do great. And so through a myriad of resources, we are here to support. So my role is to primarily focus on K through 12 education and making sure that we are best supporting you all in the hard work that you're doing in the education space. And I will go ahead and kick us off with talking about a large grant from Texas Workforce Commission. And just a quick note, I am not with Texas Workforce Commission. I don't work for Texas Workforce Commission, but they do kind of act as our big boss, for lack of better words. So from our board area, we do try to support all of the efforts that come out of Texas Workforce Commission, including the grant opportunities. So I work to make sure educators are connected to those opportunities and have our support through that application process. So we're going to talk about the JET grant. Many of you may be familiar with the JET grant, but we're just going to get into some of the details of it, some of the changes that have occurred. And if it's new to you, this will be a great intro. So the purpose of the JET grant, and that's the Jobs and Education for Texans grant, is to purchase and install equipment necessary for the development of CTE courses that lead to a license, certificate, or post-secondary degree. And I'll just repeat that again. We're looking for the equipment for programs that lead to a license, certificate, or post-secondary degree in a high demand occupation. And we'll get into that a little bit more throughout the presentation. Eligible applicants for the JET program are public junior, state, and technical colleges, open enrollment charter schools, which is a new addition, and of course, school districts. And the application submission deadline, it has already passed for this fiscal year, but we can anticipate seeing it come out in the spring of 2024. And both Michael and I will blast that out as soon as it's open and make sure to keep you all informed. And each grant length is a 12-month period. So for the previous grant cycle, we saw $8 million in general revenue. Some of you, if you were paying attention to the JET grant in the past, you may have noticed there was a big uptick in funding a couple of years ago. We've kind of settled back into what was normal before and what we anticipate to be normal moving forward around that $8 million mark. For grant applications, there is a minimum of a request for $40,000, a maximum of $350,000. And we'll get into some of the scoring in just a little bit, but there is a 50-point threshold. for the scores. And then only one application is allowed from an eligible entity. So a quick caveat to that, the JET grant, again, is available for institutions of higher education, community colleges, and school districts. So if you have a partnering community college as a school district, you are required to have a partner on the grant application. You may choose to both apply for the same type of equipment for the same program. And as long as it's one application coming from you and one application coming from that partner, it increases your chances of getting awarded, right? So it's really important to go into this with that mindset, how to really maximize and gain some success moving forward with your application. Last year, we saw some changes to the JET application. There was formerly a local workforce development board form, that LWDB form, that was required with every JET grant application. They have taken that requirement away with a caveat, as long as the occupation that you are building your application around, it lives on the target occupations list of your local workforce development board. That is a lot of words, you guys, but just hang with me. We're going to go into some more detail about it in just a moment, but just keep that caveat in mind. The letter of agreement form with an institution of higher education now has a section that requires an explanation of the partnership. Again, just emphasizing on that point I made on the last slide. Work on that partnership. Work on this together, get those ideas flowing together and make it a team effort, because this grant, along with others, do require an explanation of that partnership. Employer support letters are no longer required, but you are able to submit them if you choose. And you'll also see some changes in the budget workbook. This now lives as 2 separate documents, and justification is required for each line item, and that's new as well. All right, so the target occupations list. If you are not familiar with your local workforce development board's TOL, I highly encourage you to get familiar with it, especially if you have interest in grants, because many of the Texas Workforce Commission grants, that's their first go-to. So if you submitted an application for electricians and electricians is not on that local TOL, you may not get very far. So you can find the North Central Texas target occupations list on our website, and that's dfwjobs.com. Go to the employers tab, labor market information, and then you'll find our TOL. And this is what it looks like. And this is not the full list. This is just a slice right off the top of the list, just so you can kind of get a glimpse of what it looks like. But you see the occupation, the standard occupation code listed next to that, as well as typical entry-level education and some of the employment history statistics there and wage data. All right. So Michael and I thought it would be a great idea to just kind of provide this glimpse of the FY22 JET awards. So this graph was pulled from looking at what programs were awarded from FY22. And you can see overwhelmingly production occupations were awarded the JET grant, followed closely by healthcare. But then we see a large chunk of installation, maintenance, and repair, architecture and engineering. And there is a section in brown for construction and extraction occupations, which we don't see reflected on the grant. But as we all know, many of these items that the equipment can be used within the construction pathway. It may, look a little different on this chart, but I think as construction programs are in more and more of a demand, we're going to see more and more of these occupations awarded through the JET grant, this equipment grant. And Michael wants to jump in. Come on in.
Just so everybody knows, so like the production occupations, that's the occupation that typically, if you're buying welders, that's where you're going to get your welders and your welding booths and all that kind of stuff. for those programs. And that's why you see such a big one, is because the sectors that Texas Workforce Commission has is different than the career clusters that TEA has. That's one of the things that we haven't got in alignment with on that side of things. But that's why you don't see like traditional construction in there, and that's why she mentioned those other occupations, is because for us, those occupations are in there, are in those other sectors. So.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Michael. All right, so we're just going to kind of zip through some of the allowable and unallowable costs. We won't spend too much time here, but again, this grant is for the acquisition of equipment. So we're talking about that tangible personal property with a lifetime of a year, and a value of $5,000 or more, or it can be a collection of items that are stacked together, such as a welding booth. And welding is a program that we see awarded time and time again with this grant. All right, some more allowable costs are the costs necessary to ready the equipment for its intended use. So modifications, attachments, accessories, etc., and ancillary charges, which are used for the equipment acquisition. So freight costs, protective transit, insurance, sales tax, installation. Unallowable costs. And we have so many caveats, don't we? So we'll get to another one here, but unallowable costs. So that will include the electrical, mechanical, structural, or other building modification. And I want to highlight this one because this is a question I get often with this grant is, well, we need money to build a new building, or we need to add on to fit the equipment. Typically, that is not allowed for funding from this grant. However, if you apply and you include all of that information and your goals and your needs, if you receive an award notification, there is a period of negotiation with TWC. And so you'll have that opportunity to, I guess, fight the good fight and try to get the funding that you need. But there's no guarantee because that is typically unallowable. And I won't go through this whole list. You can kind of read through it, but it's all outlined in the RFA. You'll find almost everything you need in that RFA, including all allowable and unallowable costs.
Can I say one thing about unallowable costs? I'm going to give two anecdotes on unallowable costs, if you don't mind. So there's a school district in Region 10 that purchased through this, that they got awarded a JET grant, and one of their major purchases was a greenhouse. And you're like, well, that's building and equipment. Well, they were successful in justifying how it was equipment because how they could disassemble it and reassemble it and like almost like Lego pieces and put it together. That's how they got the greenhouse. Another example would be, and this is coming from Texas Workforce webinars that I've sat on, that give the example of a paint booth. So if you have a paint programs for your automotive or for construction or painting furniture or something like that, you have a paint booth that needs specific special HVAC that's an add-on to your HVAC. They said that they have paid for that before. So that's kind of specific HVAC they have paid for. But again, it comes down to, but they can't, we're not going to redo all of your HVAC for your building. They're not, no, we're not going to pay for that. So that, again, that comes down to what Danielle said, is how you negotiate that in negotiations and talk to them and explain and then what your narrative looks like for them as well. And how it's explained in your narrative of the grant.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll just touch on the scoring really quickly. So 50% of the scoring is on the program evaluation. So that's going to be your physical application that you submit. And some of you may be familiar with the other 50% of this application is based on what's called an economic impact evaluation. You have zero control over, well, pretty low level of control over this area of the scoring, which might deter some schools from going for it, but Michael and I can both sit here and say, we still highly encourage you to go for it. Do not be discouraged by this, because there are other things that you can kind of tweak and make sure are included in your application to give you the best chance. But that economic impact eval is based on a wage impact score, community type score, and property wealth score. The RFA includes links to these, so you can calculate that on your own to kind of get an idea of what that looks like for your region. But what you do have a lot of control over is that high demand occupation that you choose. So again, aligning it with your local workforce board's target occupations list that we discussed, find that high demand occupation that also has a very high wage. That's going to be really helpful with this grant. And then also there's a section where you identify the unduplicated students that are going to get hands-on with this equipment during the grant period. You want to be really accurate when identifying this number, but you have control over what that looks like as well. So be thoughtful and aim for the highest impact when going through this application. Michael, did you have anything you wanted to add here?
Just know that there has been schools that have received the JET grant multiple times that are in Collin County. So Collin County, when you look at the data, has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the state of Texas. And when you see how many points you get docked for having that low of unemployment, you're like, well, how are we ever going to get it? But knowing that if you doing exactly what Danielle said, selecting the right occupation, doing the other things to recover points is going to help you build that chance. And also, like she said, partnering with your community college and have both submitting applications, that go after the same thing is going to help tremendously. But no, there is schools in Collin County that have received it 3 years in a row, knowing that we have one of the lowest unemployment rate, or Collin County has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the state of Texas. So don't let that deter you on applying for this. Go and put the strongest application you can forward, and Texas workforce can see that. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so after TWC evaluates all applications, they will share out the notification of awards. And then that's that opportunity we mentioned that you'll get to work with the grant manager and negotiate the budget line by line. And then TWC will provide a document for you to receive prior approval. And the JET grant is a reimbursement program, so you'll need to be prepared if you are selected to pay up front and purchase the equipment needed within 90 days of the grant start date. TWC is not going to include the 5% match or the 10% retention reserve in that reimbursement. The 10% is based on meeting the deliverables. So that goes into what we mentioned about that selection of the number of unduplicated students. You want to make sure that you get an attainable number there so that you're not overestimating and don't meet that deliverable, because that will impact the reimbursement. And then best practices here, we just can't emphasize enough the need to read and reread the RFA. Your questions will be answered most likely. If not, we're here to support. Michael and I both have seen this year after year, so we are here to support. But the best thing you can do for yourself and your preparedness is reading that RFA very thoroughly. Before you submit your application, use the checklist. Even if you think that you've gotten everything checked off, make sure you reference that checklist and make sure things are titled correctly. You want to turn in something that looks really clean and neat. And then also utilize the JET toolkit. The toolkit is not included or hasn't been included in the past in the RFA packet, but you can find it online at Texas Workforce Commission's website. Have the link there at the bottom, and it'll go through frequently asked questions, the grant checklist, crosswalks. It has some great informational videos there. And the good thing about this is you can access it year round. So if you want to go ahead and go start preparing for your JET grant, you can take a look at that now. And then also as you prepare, you can make an open records request to TWC. You can send them an email, go by mail, fax, in person, however you wish to do it. But you can take a look at previously awarded grants. So that might be a great idea if this is your first go around and you want to see who's been successful, how they did it. Those records are available to you. All right, and I'm going to kick it over to Michael.
Awesome. So again, I'm Michael Pflug. Thank you, Danielle, for great information on the JET program and the JET grant. So I am going to talk about the TEA side of things. Much like Danielle and the Workforce Solutions in North Central Texas, most of you who have worked with ESCs before know that we are not TEA. We are partners with TEA, but we are an entity by ourselves that enacted by Congress that actually, we help serve LEAs in our area. So with that said, there are a couple grants out there that can help fund your programs through TEA. The first grant that we're going to talk about is the CTE Summer Grant. And if you haven't seen the CTE Summer Grant before, it's been around for a long time. It goes back to almost 2014 or 2015. So it's been around quite a while. It has had different iterations, but the purpose of this grant is to provide greater access to CTE programs and work-based learning opportunities in the summer. And when you're looking at it, it can address gaps and needs for like transportation, student scheduling constraints, teacher certifications or certifications for students, industry needs, industry-based certifications, all those different kinds of things. And when we look at it, it directly aligns with TEA's strategic plan to focus on preparing every student for college, career, and military. So there's two focus areas when we talk about the CTE Summer Grant. Now, I'm going to try not to read everything on here because I'm just going to talk about the two focus areas. I put it on there so that you could read it as I'm talking. The first focus area really is around providing those high quality CTE programs in the summer. Each of these focus areas will have 40 awards, and each award is $50,000, just a flat $50,000, whether you request $10,000 or you request $49,999, you're getting $50,000 if you get the grant. They want to make sure that you're justifying it in the budget. So if knowing that, you should justify $50,000. The application with this, you have to do a needs assessment, and it must satisfy a program of study that is offered by TEA. So what can you go back one? What can you do with the grant fund? So if we're talking about creating high quality CTE programs, what can you do? What's great is you can create a summer bridge program for your 8th graders going to 9th grade. You can do continuing education for your kids who just graduated or your 11th or 12th graders. You can actually do acceleration programs, and how you do acceleration programs is TEA made a rule change. You can actually offer CTE classes in the summer for full credit. So if you have a program that your kid wants to accelerate on, or you want to offer the principal's class in between 8th grade and 9th grade, and that way they can start in the next level class, which means they have an open spot their senior year. Or if you want to retain your kids who are doing football and band and CTE, but they don't have it in their schedule, this is a way for them to open up their schedule a little bit more. What's great about this grant is you can spend up to 75% of it on teacher salaries. So you can pay instructor salaries with this. You can buy equipment, and you can do anything you need to, aside from a couple things, but one big one is providing food. But you can do pretty much anything with this that helps with that summer program and creating those high quality CTE programs in the summer. So that's FA1. So the focus area 2 is same amount, but this focuses specifically on work-based learning and providing those high quality learning experiences for those students in work. This is a great, really flexible option for school districts who are looking to solve the problem of getting kids that work-based learning in the summer, but they also need a job in the summer. So because, go to the next one. What you can do with it is this money can actually be used to pay students as they're in an internship. So you have to have an industry partner, which could be one of these amazing TEXO partners on the call here today, if you have a construction program. And what's great is that instead of them paying it, they can offer an unpaid internship and you can pay them through this grant. You can pay the students through this grant. You can pay transportation for the students. You can also pay their hourly wage with this grant. So if you say, we're going to pay our kids $11 an hour for a 6-week summer program, a summer internship program, absolutely you can do that with this grant, which is fantastic. You can also do a facilitated and monitored project-based learning summer program where the kids come out with something that they created, they solved a problem, those kind of things. The only thing is when you submit your application, you have to include a letter from the employer how it's going to benefit the employer and how it's relevant on the industry side of that. So the last thing on this is that you can use an FA2 for is those students who have to get an IBC after they graduate, after they become 18. So let's say pharmacy tech or some of these other ones. Guess this can provide an opportunity to do more training in the summer. And then at the end of the training, you can actually pay for their certification. They can go test. And then you can use their proof of test as hey, this is how you're getting paid kind of thing. So you can actually pay and help retain those students so that you can get that IBC information back from students who leave in the summer, graduates who leave in the summer. You can also use this to help begin a student's apprenticeship program. So you can use this to help pay for the summer start of their apprenticeship program or however that looks, get them tools, get them whatever they need. If you have a pre-apprenticeship program, this is a great opportunity to help subsidize some of that burden on the employer in the summer so that they can actually do work in the summer towards their apprenticeship hours. And that way they can come out with, whether it's a youth apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship, they can come out with actually some more hours towards achieving that apprenticeship sooner rather than later. So that's the CTE summer grant. When we look at it, applications will come out. They typically come out late October, early November. This year they came out early November. You basically had the month of November to turn it in, to complete it and turn it in. Awards, the anticipated award is going to be January, February. This year it was at the very beginning of February. The grant period, you get a planning period starts in March, and the end of the grant has to be executed by the last day of September. So you have to complete it and have everything done, all your books closed, all the data taken by the last day of September on that. So the next one I want to talk about, and probably the biggest, is going to be the Texas Regional Pathways Network. This is a fairly new grant. It was enacted in 2019, and it is actually a direct product of the tri-agency. The tri-agency is the Texas Workforce Commission, the Texas Education Agency, and the Higher Education Coordinating Board. Governor Abbott enacted that in 2019, and this is a direct product of that. So in CTE, we have those programs of study as the infrastructure. This is the creative execution of that infrastructure. So when we're talking about the TRPN network, this is to help spur economic growth and prepare youth for those skills and credentials needed to actually go into work and actually be economically successful after school. When we're looking at awards amounts, so in 2020, 2022, 2023 was different. In the past, they've arranged from anywhere between $200,000 to $980,000 for one award. This year, it was $300,000 to $550,000. Next year, They're actually changing the amounts and changing some of the structure of the grant. We don't know what that looks like, but I'm anticipating it's going to be around $500,000 on that side of things. Just knowing what the funding source is, which is the Perkins Reserve Grant, it's going to probably be around $500,000. So when we look at the Texas Regional Pathways Network, it consists of 7 components that help you create that highly sustainable, high need pathway. And the first thing up there, and I think it's super important, is those cross-sector partners. With this grant, you have to have 2 industry partners, 2 different industry partners. And again, if you have a construction program, anyone on this call would be a great industry partner to help you out with that. The industry partners are the ones who are going to help advise on the equipment, on the program, on the curricula, on whatever it is that you're doing. It has to be, again, like Danielle said, get used to that hot jobs list on there, because it has to be aligned to labor market data, in-demand labor market data. So that's going to be TEA actually goes a little step further and defines it, and they say 35,000, 36,000 in annual salary with a 17% annual growth for this in statewide, not necessarily in your area, but statewide. That said, you have to have an IHE partner and it has to link to the higher ed side of things somehow, whether that's workforce courses or that's actual like getting them an AAS degree. When we talk about that, that's again, we're linking to those credentials of value. Your industry partner, it may not be on the IBC list, like the OSHA 30 may not be is not on the IBC list. But it's super valuable in the construction industry. So that might be something that you can spend grant dollars on and purchase and pay for and get done, because those kids need that to be, and won't necessarily help you with your IBCs or your CCMR, but it does help you with getting these kids into the construction industry. The last couple things are rigorous academics. Again, that's helping select that curricula, and college and career advising is another piece that goes kind of with everything else. But the last piece is that work-based learning experience. So how are you collaborating to create that that high quality work-based learning experience? There's several innovative ways that has happened, and tracking it and looking at that. But this grant, really, if you are looking to start a construction program, this is the grant to go, because you're going to get a substantial amount of money to start this grant and put systems and structures in place so that you are successful and the pathway continues and is continually successful. One last grant that's not on here that I do want to talk about, and it goes with the advising, the college and career advising, is the Effective Advising Framework grant. If you're not taking part of the Effective Advising Framework grant, that's a great one to be a part of. There's a grant to help you implement it. It's from TEA. There's a grant to help you implement it. Sorry. That goes hand in hand with the TRPN network and the TRPN grant. And it's a great strengthener for your application to say, we are also working on the Effective Advising Framework on those sides of things. But that all said, do I have one more slide, or is this my last? Okay. The last thing I'm going to say on this is that the TRPN network will open up again. It's going to open up in late fall. That's all we know is late fall. And it will be a 1.5-year grant. And so you'll get the spring to plan, and then you'll have a full school year to execute the plan of the grant on those kind of things. And if you're interested in this, Region 10 can be your regional convener, because you have to have 2 industry partners, 3 LEAs, and workforce partner, the workforce solutions partner, and IHE partner, and a regional convener. And so TEA has a lot, or not, Region 10 has a lot of experience with that, and we're happy to be that for you. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to help shepherd you through that process. And so I'll go ahead.
Oh. We also wanted to share out these QR codes for you. So to receive notifications on your own from Texas Workforce Commission grants, you can go into the link that's connected to the QR code there. And then there's also, I don't have a QR code for it, but that other link for Texas Smart Buy is a great resource to see what grants are open or closed. And you can just kind of play with that and search around. And then the other QR code will take you to the Texas Education Agency's grants database. So we wanted to make sure that y'all had those resources at your fingers. And then please follow us on social media. We all post out all kinds of resources, all kinds of activities, events, trainings. So there is all of our information there in our, not hashtags, whatever you call those.
Your handle.
Handle, that's it. It was not coming to me. So, and then again, if y'all have any follow-up questions or want to talk about this further or ask for our help, you can reach me and Michael both, and we are more than happy to support you. Much of our areas overlap, so if you want us both on a call, I'm sure we can make that happen. But I know that there were some questions maybe in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle, and thanks, Michael. That's a lot of awesome information. So, yeah, a few questions in the chat, and we'll kind of open it up to the room. But one of the ones at the very beginning, Katrina asked kind of what resources were available across the state to strengthen our construction workforce. So Danielle, you want to start in on that, and then maybe Michael, if you have something to add, go for it.
Yeah, so as a workforce board, we have strategically prioritized construction as one of the industries we are looking to build up. It is a high need industry, as you probably all know, and so we are taking some efforts as our team, making those connections with employers, offering resources to, from my end, thinking about education, we're thinking about career exploration and making sure that kids know of the opportunities that exist in the construction field. So we have a couple of big things coming up in partnership with TEXO. Actually, we're doing a career exploration event, and Lorinda can share out more information about that possibly. And then we're also doing an externship program this year. So that's offering teachers the chance to go and experience what it's like on a work site. And so those are a couple of things from my area that we're working on. And then also the grants, just pushing out these equipment grants, dual credit grants, any other construction related grants to our education partners is always top of mind.
So on our side, on the TEA side, one thing that I do want to mention is awareness. That's a huge thing about this is awareness. So when we talk about, construction, kids don't realize that a construction company also has accountants. They also have social media people. They also have marketers. They also have insert pretty much every job that you can think of. And kids are not thinking of those because they think of construction, and they think of those iconic careers within construction, which are those direct pathways. And so really opening up to those indirect pathways into the industry is going to be super helpful. One thing that we actually have done with Region 10, at Region 10, is we've partnered with Workforce Solutions of North Central Texas. And it's me partnering with Danielle, is we've actually put out a career, it's the Career and College Explorations curriculum. It is aligned to that new course that the SBOE just adopted since it repealed the other two courses. It's on our website, and it's 100% free. If you go to our CTE website at Region 10, you just click on the little tab and it's there. And it's ready to go. You can click and use it. Danielle and her team has provided tons of resources on there. That's a huge help with that, and they're great resources and they're free resources. So that's a big one for awareness. And then grants getting grants going. We actually have a grant right now that is getting electricians going. We've been working with some other local areas. So like over in the Wiley area, the Wiley EDC, we've been trying to get a pre-apprenticeship going over there and trying to get that working with them. So when we talk about resources, it's talking about really sitting down and saying, what is the actual need? Do you need programming? Do you need resources? Do you need curricula? Do you need, what is it that you need to help move that forward? Because there's tons of things out there. It's just figuring out what is that one piece that we're going to need that we can actually help move what you're doing forward.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that, it's just that first conversation. So reach out to Michael, reach out to me, reach out to Lorinda, and we all know to pull each other in and to connect and provide those resources that will be catered to your needs and your community. So don't get overwhelmed. You know, we can baby step our way through this together.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, hopefully Katrina, that answered your question. We had one more that was actually answered in the chat, but I'll just go and read it out for everybody. It was, what did JET stand for?
Say that again. What does JET stand for?
Correct. It was, what does JET stand for?
Jobs and Education for Texans Grant.
Awesome. Good deal. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then Michael, I think I'm going to direct this one for you since you talked about the summer grants.
Okay.
The question is, schools can go for CTE summer grants by purchasing online CTE summer courses from a third party or a private entity. So can schools go for that by purchasing from a third party?
Yes. So CTE summer grants, you can purchase equipment, you can purchase curriculum, you can purchase contracted services. It's a pretty wide open grant on that side of things. The things that you can't purchase are the typical things you can't buy with federal money. So like food, gifts, debt services, door prizes, t-shirts, those kind of things on that. And so really, if it's not federally allowed in EDGAR guidelines, which is pretty standard, then it's allowable typically here.
Okay. A tack onto that, does that include digital internships as well?
Yeah, any type of internships that can be, as long as the industry partner is supporting it. I've actually been trying to get with, we have an industry partner here in the DFW area that we've been working with to try to set up some digital internships for some of our rural schools so that they can get some of that experience as well. And that's just kind of, we haven't had it funded yet because we don't have the nuts and bolts and more of the logistics nailed down, but we are working through that process right now with them.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. Go ahead and for everybody on the call, if you have questions, just throw them into the chat. We'll actually have a second Q&A coming up here in a bit. Going to throw one more out there, and maybe Danielle, I'll throw this one towards you, but what is your biggest tip for success and being able to get a grant funded?
From my experience, and I'm sure Michael has some good ideas too, but I just think being very thorough, because especially with the JET grant, it's very straightforward. They ask a question, you answer it. So as long as you read those requirements very, very thoroughly and look through it and make sure you're answering the appropriate questions and you're answering them well and clear, I kind of think that's the number one most important thing.
Thank you,
Michael,
Danielle.
do you want to jump in?
Yeah, so I'll tack on too. So being successful with an application, it's answering the questions that are given directly enough, but also giving enough information that the person reading it can understand what the program is. And so it's a really fine balance there, because a lot of people are, as you go through like a master's degree or bachelor's degree, when you're writing, you want to have all these like flourishes and all this kind of extra information, but it's kind of boiling it down to, how can you explain your program in 1,000 words? And what does that look like? And can you explain it efficiently? If you can't do it in 1,000 words, then work with a team to see how you can do that and explain it in that time. I always like to think of it as a narrative. I'm creating I have to identify, I have to establish what the problem is, and that's establish that there is a problem. I have to establish what's been done in the past, and then you have to establish how is what you're going to do different and going to work. And if you can hit those 3 things, then that really creates a really good narrative that anyone reading your grant can understand, and you have a higher chance of getting through, because if it's just incoherent thoughts putting on a paper or not structured, then you get lost in the reviewers get lost, because you got to remember, the reviewers are not technical people. Sometimes they're not even educators. Sometimes they're not even industry professionals. Sometimes it's just somebody sitting at a desk who their whole job is to read grant applications and grade them. So you got to be able to create that story and create that read for them.
That's a really good point. So be mindful of the language that you're using, because if you're talking about ESC Region 10 and nobody knows what an ESC is on the review team, that's not going to get you very far. So be sure to explain things very well.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, can you go back to the summer grants real quick? There's a question about when they will open. And I think the question is asking if they will open in November, but can you confirm when those usually open?
So I can only confirm what happened this year. This year they did open in November, and they closed December. It was like the second week or the first week of December. Typically, they have said, TEA Grants has said that's when they're aiming. TEA Grants and TEA CTE has said that is when they're aiming every year to open it, and be on that schedule. So I would suspect them late October, early November. So probably around Halloween, maybe a little before Halloween, I would start checking that TEA grant page to make sure, and know that, if you are a private entity, or the only applicants that the only grantees for a summer grant is an LEA, is a local education agency. That's a charter school or a independent school district, ISD. Those are the only 2 entities that can apply. But if you're a private organization or a company, like if you have someone you're working with and they would like to help you with the application, that's allowable. And so as long as the person submitting it is a applicable grantee, that's the only caveat there.
That's good. Thank you, Michael. All right. Oh, we got a few more coming in, and then we'll go into a breakout session. Stephanie, I think I'm going to save that one for the breakout. One question, Lorinda, if you don't mind popping onto the microphone and answer. There's a question just on the presentation, if we'll be able to share the presentation out after this is over. Can you kind of fill us in on that, please?
Yes, and actually I need to question whether or not Danielle or Michael, are y'all allowed to share your presentations?
Yep. I'm assuming it's going to go out as like a PDF, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we are recording this. And I just wanted to make sure it'll either come out in PDF format or it will come out in video. I would just need to make just like make it available to download. So
thank you, Lorinda. All right, last question, then we'll go out into our breakout session timing. When does the TRPN grant application open?
So what TEA Grants has said is late fall. That is what they have told us. They are adjusting things with this grant this year to make it 1.5 years. So they have to kind of skip part of the year. So all they have said is late fall. So what that means is it could be late September, October, November, December. That could be late fall. TEA could also say January is late fall. So it's a government agency, so their definitions are very fluid. So we just have to kind of be fluid. But if you are checking the grant page, if you subscribe to like the Region 10 CTE listserv, we do push out all that stuff as it comes out. So as soon as it comes out, we'll make it known. We'll say, hey, this is open. If you'd like to apply, you need more information, let me know on that side of things.
Thank you, Michael. That was going to be my suggestion, was make sure to connect in with Michael or Danielle, or if you're over the Region 11 side with your Region 11 reps, but connect with them and they will get you in the right place and let you know when everything opens. We are going to pivot for just a little bit. This was about the time when we would go into individual breakout sessions. Our session, unfortunately, it's a little smaller than we were anticipating, so we're going to go and keep everybody in one group. So we're not going to go into individual breakouts, but we're going to have a group discussion here. So educators, CTE representatives, what we'd like for you to do is have the opportunity to chime in on some of these. So what we wanted to kind of facilitate some of the questions here and maybe start the questions, and this is for everybody to help everybody else, but what funding opportunities have you explored? And then what funding opportunities have you been successful with currently, and why do you feel that you were successful with it? So with that, I'd kind of like to open up the floor. Maybe Katrina or Brooks, if y'all could maybe chime in first, and then hopefully we'll get some good discussion flow going. And we also have a few more questions should none of these land.
Has anyone applied for the JET grant?
Well, I'm willing to throw myself out there. I'm from Plano ISD. We have not applied for the JET grant. We are going to be building a CTE center though, and we're looking at adding construction and welding and advanced manufacturings and all the wonderful new high wage, high demands areas into that CTE center. So we are soaking in this information so that as we move forward, we will be hitting up all of these grants. I can feel it coming.
That's exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. We can't wait.
Have y'all applied for anything yet, Elaine, or are y'all just on the introductory side of things?
For the CTE Center in particular, no, we have not applied for anything, mainly just because of our timeline. It's still very fluid at this moment. We're looking at either 25, 26 or 26, 27 for an opening date. So once we get kind of closer, then we'll start applying for everything. Now we have applied for just grants in the past. So we did like the Perkins Reserve grant and things like that, but no, not the JET or any of those.
Do you have a grant writer on staff?
Yes, her name is Elaine Anaya. Yeah, I kind of got thrown into writing our last grant because I'm a coordinator. My boss, our director, she was actually out on maternity leave, and so I kind of got the privilege of doing that, and it's just somewhat become a natural thing for me to do.
Got it.
Well, you have Region 10 supporting you as well, so
you better, Michael. Thank you.
You can always ask me for help. So
I know it. Thank you, Michael.
And you can always reach out to me for labor market information. We can provide that at no cost to you. Very specific to your area, your region.
Yes, ma'am. We will definitely be doing that.
Has anyone else explored any opportunities or even seen any challenges with grants? All right, Michael or Danielle, while we're waiting, maybe formulating some thoughts, could one of y'all maybe share a success story to get some juices flowing?
yeah, I can share some. So I've worked on, so one of the TRPN grants, Texas Regional Pathways Network, one of those that we have worked on. We have actually created drop labs for for schools that were in the actual grant. And so a bunch of rural schools that are in Ellis County, which is the kind of the southern portion of Region 10, seven schools, and we used a shipping container. We took a 30-foot shipping container and we turned it into a classroom, kind of like you would see on a construction site where it's an office with a window unit and a generator going, one of those kind of things. But now it's a classroom, and it's full of equipment for students to explore engineering, to explore the advanced manufacturing, those kind of things, to really get them understanding what's going on. And we have plans to add additions to these drop labs to include construction as part of it as well. So different things we can look at, what can we add to those containers to actually help with construction? Are there trainers we can add? Are there, like the Amatrol trainers or some of the electrical trainers that we've purchased in the past? We've also, on another grant, we've worked with Dallas College on getting apprenticeships into the electrician apprenticeship program. And one of those things is they actually retooled a lot of their cert, so level 1, level 2 certificates. They actually retooled a lot of those certificates to help match and see, hey, this is the way Texas is moving. So we really want to create those really good stackable credentials and those stackable options for those kids. So when now kids are leaving, they have the option to, if they work on it their junior and senior year, they can get a ton of their pre-apprenticeship. They can do a ton of their apprenticeship hours and come out with a level 1 cert on top of that. And with Wiley ISD, one that we're working on a grant for, with their pre-apprenticeship certification program, what they're doing is they're looking to do the first, so they're going to work their junior and senior year on this electrical pre-apprenticeship. And then at the end of their senior year, they're going to test for their lineman certification. So they'll have the lineman certification leaving high school, along with about a little more than half of their hours completed for their apprenticeship, and with the majority of their classwork completed for their apprenticeship. So those kids are going to be set up to go into the electrical apprenticeship program once they get that going. But no, that has been a multi-year process on getting that going on that side of things.
Good deal. Thank you, Michael. Danielle, you have any success stories you might want to share?
I don't want to single any particular school district out, but I can say it's been really exciting watching, because we keep track of the awards that come into our area, and with the work that our team is doing, as well as, it's really the schools that are working so hard, but we're just supporting. It's been fun watching that number tick up, of the number of success stories, the number of awarded grants, especially around the JET grant. So we've seen a lot of success in our area with that.
Hey, Juliet, I see you're with Irving ISD. Can you kind of chime in a little bit more, if you have a microphone, on what Irving is doing, MacArthur as well?
Okay, we've been doing NCCER core curriculum and getting all our kids certified. And I started 2 years ago with the Independent Electrical Contractors IEC Apprentice Program, and I'm an electrician. I'm a journeyman electrician, so I teach that here at MacArthur High School. And next year will be our first year to actually send apprentices out in the field with the electricians.
So cool.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Have y'all applied for any grant funding or been successful with anything, or even faced any challenges yet?
Not yet. So far, so good. I had talked to Garland about how they were doing things, because they're really kicking us at competition. And I found out they were having apprenticeships with Fox Electric. So I am next year gonna have the same setup they have, where my kids get to go to work every other day, all day.
Great.
So, yeah, I'm tired of getting beat in competition.
Hey, and hopefully I'll say this correctly, but maybe VISPA. What kind of opportunities have y'all tried on your end, or can you kind of let us know where you're at in your programs?
Yeah, so hi everyone. Actually, I'm not from an ISD. I am representative of the platform UpBrainry, which is a career exploration platform. So what we do is that we use AI and machine learning in order to understand the interests and learning of the students. And we help align, the students with the careers of today and tomorrow. So what we do is that we have built-in micro badging, micro-credentialing system and teacher tools. So it making it really easy to implement it in the classrooms. So now you would be able to link my questions with what I really asked from Michael regarding, partnering with the private entities. Yeah. So, yeah. So we're looking forward to partner with ISTs and schools to take our product further.
Good deal. Thank you for that information.
Thank you.
Let's see. I think maybe Katrina, I believe you're still on the line. Can you kind of share maybe where your program is at, and if you've experienced any challenges or any tips you might want to share to anybody else?
Yeah, sure. So I'm in a little bit of a different boat, but I'm a consultant with TIP Strategies, and we are working with Workforce Solutions for North Central Texas, and have been for like the past 2 years now. But we are helping them with their sector partnership, but we're also doing work across the state in Texas. So for example, we have a current project where we're working with a training center in Smithville, Texas. And so they are trying to stand up some skilled trades training programs. And so I was kind of wearing a dual hat for this call, trying to understand if there's any opportunities for them to pursue, but then also just to support Danielle from North Central Texas.
Thanks, Katrina.
Can I ask a question, Katrina?
Yeah, absolutely.
The training center, are they partnering with their local ISDs, or are they just trying to create it kind of like a private training solution kind of thing?
Well, I'm hoping this will make you happy. We are pushing them to be working with their ISDs. So they are trying to focus on adult learners. But in the work that we've done for them, we've kind of done an inventory of the existing CTE programs in their local ISDs and said, hey, these students who are in these CTE programs might be a great fit if they want to continue on in their skilled trades training with you all. So we've said, maybe, consider recruiting students from those programs once they've graduated. And then they're also trying to do more career exploration events. And so we've, of course, said, you've got to partner with the ISDs for that, and also invite parents and families and school counselors. So yeah, we're trying to tackle it from all fronts.
So Smithville is, let me make sure I know I'm right. Smithville is down kind of by Bastrop, correct?
Yes. If you've seen the movie Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock, it is in Smithville.
Well, did you know that the Capital Area Workforce Solutions is the intermediary for the Austin Area Construction Texas Regional Pathways Network?
Awesome. Okay. I had heard about that, but I was confused because they represent Travis County, right?
Yes.
And Bastrop is in rural Cap. So are they partnered?
You could probably reach out to them and ask to partner, be a partnering. The school districts can partner, and then the people looking to get the training center up and going can also be an industry partner to provide support for that area.
Awesome.
If not, I know there is Region 10 is looking to re-up to kind of revamp a construction Texas Regional Pathways Network. So that's on our to-do. So we're going to look at it for cohort 5. We are also open to, I know it's a long way, but virtual can make things happen. And we're willing to help on that side as well. If capital area cannot include you for some reason.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. One question that came up in the chat a little bit earlier ago, and let's talk applications. If an ISD wants to see an example of an application, can they, and how would they do that? I'll go to Michael and Danielle.
So for Texas Regional Pathways Network, TEA posts them online. Now they're not as consistent as the JET application is. So they have changed year to year pretty dramatically. So you can go and look at them, but the best way is to reach out to me and we can kind of talk through what the application will look like and that kind of things. Because I can kind of anticipate what's going to be on there. But again, that's kind of in flux right now because the tri-agency is kind of redoing that grant a little bit.
Mhm. And TWC is also a part of the tri-agency. I haven't seen a lot of shifts coming our way. I'm not TWC, but those applications are fairly consistent based on funding mostly. So the funding may change year to year, but what the requirements are haven't changed too much. And I'll just mention again, and when you get that, the copy of the presentation from Lorinda, there is that one slide that has information about accessing the records. So you can actually take a look at filled out applications and see the successes that have come through that. And the failures. You can request whatever you want. And I shouldn't say failures, not failures, but unsuccessful. So that's a great way to kind of access that. You can't really access applications unless the RFA is open. And TWC is pretty private about that. Once the RFA is open, you cannot really ask questions of anyone. It's going to go radio silent. So that's where your workforce board partners can come in and kind of help navigate what they've seen in the past, kind of give you some suggestions and guidance through that process.
Awesome. Thank you, Danielle. We'll kind of roll this back into a final Q&A session, and then we'll go to Lorinda to do a conclusion and talk about the survey. But Danielle, I think this one may be a good question for you. Sounds kind of like maybe a workforce type question. So this is from Juliet with Irving. She said one problem they're having with their seniors and finding jobs is work visas. Can you give any advice to Juliet?
So Juliet, one thing I would do is if you're not connected with Greater Dallas, connect with your workforce board, because every workforce board does have youth programs, and we can help support youth that may be experiencing barriers to getting work. With the work visa in particular, I'm not going to go into details about that because I don't know the specifics, but there are professionals on staff with every workforce board that can help navigate different challenges, different barriers. And if we can't solve it, we have references to other organizations that may be able to help. So we're a good resource to finding work no matter the age. So that would be my suggestion to you. So, and Lorinda's saying she'll get you connected to the Greater Dallas folks. Thank you, Lorinda.
Also, another way around it is if you work with your school district and talk with Irving and see, can they sponsor the seniors through a work visa or on that side of things? Because if you do like a summer program, the school district can hire the kids. And so there is a school in Region 10 where they got a CTE summer grant, the focus area 2, and the school is hiring the kids as summer interns, and they are going rotations with their buildings and facilities departments. And so they're going with their construction, they're going with their electrical, they're going with their maintenance, they're going with all those different people over the summer. And that's how they're getting paid, is through that. So
Yeah, I did try to reach out to Irving ISD maintenance and, you know, the powers that be over there, that they would not do the senior internships through Irving ISD.
yeah.
So they haven't responded yet. So.
And what's great is if you have the summer grant, the summer grant can pay the kids, and when it can pay their transportation, it can pay their hourly wage, it can pay, in some cases, depending on how it is, it can even like support other parts of having the job, on those kind of things. So like if a school district, if they're an employee, if they get hired as a summer employee and you have summer childcare for that, but it costs, then this grant can help pay for that summer childcare on that. So there is some ways around a lot of that stuff with the grant funds. So sometimes that's a big challenge for those kids in the summer, especially with doing that, on those sides of things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Does anybody else have any further questions? If not, here about 4:25, we'll go back over to Linda to conclude us. Miranda, if you would like to go ahead and take us home, and we thank everybody for joining on today. But Miranda, I'll pass it back over to you.
Yes, and Danielle, are you able to share the PowerPoint?
Yes, let me.
Perfect. So here at the end, we have a QR code to complete a survey, just to give us some feedback on today's presentation, as well as if you are getting the 1.5 hour CPE, you can leave your email in that to receive it, and that will come next week in your email in a certificate. But I just want to say thank you all for joining today, and I'm really thankful that we were able to even bring people across the state into this conversation, because we really, even though we are located in North Texas, our goal is the construction industry in general and getting young folks to think about a career. So I just want to say thank you for all that you're doing in your spheres to encourage and inspire the next generation. And please follow us on LinkedIn, the TEXO Foundation. You can follow us on LinkedIn, and we will continue to post information and whatnot on there. You can also connect with me if you need anything, if I can help connect you to if there's connection points that you need or just resources, please let me know. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? So even if you're not sure, go ahead and ask, and we'll see what we can do. So thank you.
So thank you, Miranda, and thank you for everybody's time. As we come in here, hopefully everybody got some good information on grants, funding, got some ideas, and hopefully everybody will try and take advantage of it. So with that, we'll go ahead and end the constructing student success workshop, and hopefully everybody had a good experience with this. Make sure to give us positive, or not positive, but feedback to help us improve for the next time. We'd appreciate your open and honest opinions of it. So with that, we'll go ahead and stop the recording and give everybody back a few minutes into their day. We appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.